For today's topic, we're going to be discussing fixed camera systems in game design. And this is going to be the correct upload if you saw the first version that went up earlier. Now, camera systems, each one, can be a topic onto themselves, and they're placed within game development and the industry. When it comes to the fixed system, this was the first generation that was used for early 3D games, most notably the Alone in the Dark series, and I'm sure there may have been other ones that I can't remember off the top of my head. But the camera system, as we'll see in a few minutes, was popularized in the survival horror genre up until the release of Resident Evil 4, when they switched to the behind-the-shoulder, that kind of camera system, or a third-person one. Now, when it comes to the fixed camera system, its usage is mainly for two specific reasons. One is that it's far easier to design, as you'll see in a minute, and the second is that it allows the developer to 100% control the player's information as to what they're getting when they're playing a game. It's very close to cinematography in movies and TV, wherein whatever the camera is viewing, that's your only information. And of course, horror movie cinematographers have made use of that extensively for scares and to ratchet up the tension, such as the famous use of that kind of chasing the person camera seen in the Evil Dead franchise, or the ever popular trick of person's looking in a mirror, the camera pans some direction away, it comes back, and now the serial killer is right behind the person, and you're going to probably scream. But let's take a look at some footage from Resident Evil 1 Remastered, and we'll see this in action now. Alright, so this is the stream we did of Resident Evil Remastered, and like I said a minute ago, when it comes to the use both pros and cons of the fixed camera system, survival horror does it all. As you can see with the specific scenes, or the specific angles, used to focus the player's attention on specific windows, or limit the information that they're given. Here I'm being chased by a big old snake, and you'll see the camera or the camera angle shift multiple times in the span of a single room. And that is important. Because of the fact that you're dealing with a fixed camera system, what that means is as a developer, you yourself are determining every single angle viewed for every part of your game. And that can certainly be a lot of work, and it's also very important when you're trying to balance and design your game. Because since you are purposely limiting the player's information, you have to be aware what that means for balance. In Resident Evil, you will never be fighting like 5 to 10 guys at once in a room, especially fast enemies, because there is just no way the camera can properly show their position and give the player time to react. Now, as you can see, another big point is I'm attacking this enemy off camera. And this is a major part of the fixed camera system when it comes to any kind of boss fight. Because you don't want to be close to an enemy like that big snake there. So you'll see me kind of shooting off screen multiple times. Now, another point about the balance of a fixed camera system is that the more or the larger the room, as you can see, the more angles you're going to need. Now, another big point, I'm going to fast forward very slightly here, is that the fixed camera is also used, obviously, for scares. As I'm going to come into this room, and I will probably either be attacked or try to get away. Oh, there we go. And again, my information is limited based on what the camera is showing me. And another big reason why fixed camera systems are used, especially for first generation 3D, is that it is far easier to design compared to a fully 3D or controllable camera. Because since the camera angles are dictated to begin with, it means the player has no control over what they're looking at. But as you can see, as I'm trying to get around here, it can be hard to get the angle right for when you're attacking enemies. Oh, will I avoid this, folks? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Now, another thing about fixed cameras, and this is more of a later generation issue is that as the character is moving from one angle to the next, you'll notice that my perspective is changing. I may exit one camera angle coming out of it north or east in this case, but when the camera shifts, I'm now running to the northwest. One of the things that we saw developers kind of do is almost buffer the action, as in as long as I'm holding in that direction, the game will still think that I'm moving in that correct angle. So if I approach from the northwest and I'm still moving forward and the camera shifts to the east, as long as I don't let go of the camera stick or the directional pad, the camera remains the same. Now, that is typically used for when you have a 3D control system like an analog stick. For early fixed camera angles, when you're dealing with the tank-like controls and everything is in proportion to the character's direction, that is not as applicable. And maybe at some point we'll take a look at that in a future video. But to begin to wrap things up, again, the fixed camera angles, there's me kind of twitching up the steps there, have their best uses when you're trying to control the player's information, and also for setting things up to attack the player off screen. Its utility today is questionable though, because of the fact that you are purposely leaving out information, which can be very painful and very cheap for some gamers when you're trying to play an action-based game. Again, with something like Resident Evil here, I'm only dealing with maybe 1 to 2 enemies at a time, maybe some larger groups if I'm already getting a wide angle shot. But just imagine playing something like Dead Space, or even of course Resident Evil 4, with this information being limited, but you're still fighting 5 to 10 enemies at a time. It's just going to be too frustrating, and the camera just doesn't work there. Another big point is that when you're dealing with a fixed camera, you can't really have long-range combat, because most of the time the player is going to be fighting enemies off-camera, which makes it very hard to actually dodge said enemies. Ninja Gaiden Black 2, or just Ninja Gaiden 2, was very frustrating by upping the number of ranged enemies, but only having the camera show specific viewpoints. With that said though, that camera did allow for some control by the player, and a fixed camera is usually on or off, meaning if you're dealing with fixed angles, there is zero control by the player. So like right there with me standing there, I had no information as to what was down that corridor. And that's the point. And you're going to see another lovely camera angle right now. Like right here, that is a useless camera angle if you're trying to get information for the player. It's very cinematic and it does make things set up for jump scares, but you wouldn't put that in an action game where the player needs to be on at all times. But with that said, let's wrap things up here. For you folks watching this, do you think that a fixed camera serves any purpose today outside of the horror genre? And what are some of your favorite examples? I'm not going to say least favorite because that's probably very easy. But thanks for watching today's Critical Thought. If you'd like to suggest a topic for a future video, let me know in the comments below. But check back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Before we get to the credits, just a quick shout out to the supporters over on patreon.com/GWBycer. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to check back for our regular streaming most nights at 9:30, 10 EST, and you'll find a schedule linked down below. For a collection of my writings as well as audio casts on design, you'll find that at game-wisdom.com. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at GWBycer. If you're interested in hanging out and talking about game design topics, we have a Discord channel with the basic tier open to everybody, and that is linked down below as well. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, it is at patreon.com/GWBycer. Your support can help to keep things going and growing, and you can earn rewards such as ad-free versions of our talks, votings for our specific Let's Plays and grab bag streams, and more. But that's it for now. Thanks again for watching. I hope you come back for more great discussions on design here and on GameWisdom.com, where we examine the art and science of games.